Hey guys, Trinity C here, coming at you with another video. One thing that leaked last year, a part of this massive terror leak for Pokemon, is their roadmap from now to 2030. And within that roadmap was a game that I think no one was expecting. If you don't know what I'm referring to here, I'll leave a card above to the video where I go over the roadmap itself. But within the roadmap leak, we had a game scheduled for 2028 that was titled a multi-region remake for Pokemon. Now, yeah, this is the game that we all dreamed of as a kid. It's the game that's going to have all these Pokemon regions wrapped up into one with this nice little bow on it, but it's taking the form of an MMO, an online multiplayer experience, which I think is something very different than anyone would have ever expected from Pokemon. Think of like Temtem, but Pokemon with a bunch of regions in it. Now, this multi-region remake is supposed to be all of the Japanese-based Pokemon regions in one game. So you're going to have your Kanto, your Johto, your Hoenn, your Sinnoh, and your Kitakami thrown in there as well from the Scarlet and Violet DLC. Now, there's two things really that I want to talk about in this video, and that is what I think about this game inherently as an idea, and lastly, do I think this game is actually going to happen? So addressing the former first, what do I think about this game inherently as an idea? I'm a little bit confused by it, to be honest with you. I feel like everybody from as long as I can remember, honestly, has been saying, oh man, I hope they make a Pokemon game with all the regions in it. This is something I remember hearing as a kid from friends. This is something I heard all throughout schooling, high school, college, etc., etc. People always say there's going to be a Pokemon game that has all the regions into it, and I quite frankly thought this is never going to happen. Why, you say? Why, you ask? Because, well, why would you sell one product with 4 regions in it when you could sell 4 products with 1 region in it each? What I mean by that is you can sell a Kanto game, you can sell a Sinnoh game, you can sell a Johto game, and you could sell a Hoenn game as 4 separate products with 2 versions each for $70 a pop. That's $140 per region if someone is to buy both games per region. So we're talking about $560 worth of Pokemon games. Whereas if you make an online multi-region MMO remake, you're talking about one Pokemon product that, quite frankly, I'm assuming is going to be free to play because I think this is going to be a live service game. And you're not going to make as much money from it, I would imagine, than if you made 4 Pokemon remakes. But on the flip side of that, the reason why I think they're even looking at the possibility of doing something like that now is just because of the way the franchise is structured right now and how big it's gotten. So back when people first said this to me was when Generation 4 came out. That's the first time I ever remember hearing a Pokemon game with all the regions tied into it. And back then, it just never made sense, because why would you put all 4 Pokemon regions in one game when you could sell, again, 4 separate products with each region in it? But the thing is, and the problem that Pokemon is going to run into, and quite frankly, they are running into this problem today, is there are so many regions today. Pokemon has become so big and has gone on for so long that feasibly going forward, they can't really follow the remake formula like they used to, right? Back in the day, we used to get one remake per console for the oldest gen. So back on the GBA, the Game Boy Advance, we got Fire Red and Leaf Green, your Red and Blue remake, right? Back with the DS, we got Heart Gold and Soul Silver, your Gold and Silver remake. With the 3DS, we got Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, your Ruby Sapphire remake. And with the Nintendo Switch, we got your Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, your Pokemon Diamond and Pearl remakes. The problem with that formula, and the reason why I think they're moving away from it, is by the time you get to, let's just say, Sun and Moon, it's going to be the year 2045 to 2050. It's going to be a long time until you get to Sun and Moon. And with that being said, what if they want to do in 2045 a Pokemon Scarlet and Violet revisit? What if they want to do another Legends game set within the Sinnoh region? What if they want to do another Kalos Legends game, this time taking place in the past 3,000 years ago during that war? The problem is them following this remake structure, this remake formula locks them into what games come out when. And Game Freak as a company has said time and time again that they want to do things that surprises fans. That is exactly why we got Pokemon Legends ZA last year instead of getting what everyone expected, which was a Unova remake. No, instead we got Pokemon Legends ZA, which is a sequel game to the original X and Y. So I think the reason why they're looking at this idea of a multi-region remake at all is because they've realized internally that we can't do this anymore. We can't keep making remakes for the oldest Pokemon games because we're getting to a point where Johto's due for a remake, Unova's due for a remake, but we're also getting to a point where Kalos could use a remake. Well, if we're doing Kalos, we could also revisit Hoenn because that is almost as old as Kalos is. But if we're doing that, then what about Alola? Then, oh wait, we have to move to the Nintendo Switch. Wait, but we haven't done Kanto in a while. We can't forget about Kanto. So my point is, and what I'm trying to get at here is they're always going to run into a game that needs a remake, and there's too many generations, too many regions for them to keep up with the remake cycle. So I think by them doing something creative like this multi-region MMO remake, it's a way for them to knock off 4 generations right off the bat. And I will say that I think if this game actually happens, and we're going to get into that in a second, whether or not this is going to happen, I think that if this game actually happens, it's not going to be that all the regions are there day one. I assume it's going to start out with Kanto, then maybe after a year or so, they add in Johto, maybe after another 6 months to a year, you get your Hoenn, then another 6 months to a year passes, you get your Sinnohs, and then eventually Kitakami as well. I don't think that day one, this MMO is going to have 4 Pokemon regions plus Kitakami in it. I don't think that's going to happen at all. Now, to answer the question of, is this game going to happen? And I question that. We know already from the roadmap that leaked, Legends Galar was supposed to come out after Winds and Waves. I'll leave a card up above to that video if you don't know what I'm talking about, but apparently that game's not happening anymore, or at least it's not happening as it was constructed, because the project title for that game is different than the project title that we know is coming back. The next games after Winds and Waves is titled Project Karasu. That is not Legends Galar. That is something else that wasn't on the roadmap, so clearly things change. And I always felt like with this Pokemon multi-region MMO remake, it felt like an overly ambitious title from Game Freak that, quite frankly, I'm not sure they'd be able to pull off. And I say that because, let's be real here, they struggled a lot with the Nintendo Switch era of Pokemon. They struggled just with performance issues, they struggled with just the games being rushed, and just really getting their ducks in a row for how to develop a home console game. We see that with Winds and Waves, they are taking more time to develop this game because of that fact. They want to get things right this time. They don't want to have another Sword and Shield or Scarlet and Violet situation on their hands. And I feel like if Winds and Waves is their first real polished Pokemon game in a long time, let's be honest here, then how are you going to jump from that to whatever Project Karasu is, to then jump from that to a year later releasing an MMO with 4 regions within it? I just don't feasibly see that happening, so I don't think this game is going to happen, to be honest. I mean, I could be wrong. Maybe it does still come, but instead of being a multi-region MMO with all the Japanese regions within it, maybe it's just Kanto and Johto. That would be a lot more feasible for them to develop as opposed to Kanto, Johto, Hoenn, Sinnoh, and Kitakami. I just feel like it's a very ambitious project, and I will say, you know, as much as people want to criticize Game Freak, they are an ambitious company with their ideas. It's just the problem is the execution of those ideas oftentimes falls from the wayside because they don't have enough time to cook. They don't have enough time to develop these games, and I just can't feasibly see them getting this MMO out there on top of Project Karasu, on top of Winds and Waves, all within the span of 3 or so years. I just don't see that feasibly happening, and for that reason, I'm thinking this multi-region MMO remake was most likely canned. Anyways, let me know down in the comment section below what you guys think about all this. What do you guys think about an MMO Pokemon remake that's going to have Sinnoh, Kanto, Johto, and Hoenn within it, plus Kitakami? Do you agree with me that it's an overly ambitious project that I'm a little concerned about Game Freak developing because I don't know how it would pan out? And let me know below as well if you think this game is still coming or if you think it's been canceled because the roadmap has changed. If you guys enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like and subscribe to see more content like this from Trainer DC. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.